Hey guys, so today it is time for my first makeup inventory check-in of the year. We are 3 months in, and if you've never seen a makeup inventory video before, this is basically where you count how many items you own in each category of your makeup collection, and it's basically a way to kind of keep your collection curated, keep things in check. Most people will set kind of like a goal number for each category at the beginning of the year. Lots of people on YouTube do these kinds of videos. I didn't invent the idea. I'm not sure who did exactly, but I'll link some other similar types of videos down below if you enjoy this kind of video. But I gotta say, I've kind of been dreading this little check-in because I know that I'm not doing great in some of these categories. In others, I'm doing quite well. So I like to kind of go in order of a full face of makeup. So let's start with base products. First, we have makeup primers. I'm doing great in this category. My goal was to keep my primer collection at no more than 3 this year, and I currently have 3. I also started the year with 3. I did use up one primer this year, and I've also purchased a new primer this year. So doing great in that category. Next category is foundation, and I like to keep a collection of no more than 5 foundations at a time. 5 is kind of my magic number for a lot of my categories. I feel like it allows me to have a good variety of different types of products, but it's also not so many that I won't be able to use them all up within a reasonable time frame. So my goal is 5 foundations. I started the year with 4 and I now have 6, so I am a little bit over my goal number. I did actually use up a foundation though within the first 3 months of the year. Very proud of myself. I have a feeling this is going to be the year of using up foundations for me. In the past, I've always been really slow to pan foundations, but something has changed. I am now like speeding through my foundations. I'm now panning another one, the Pacifica one, that I think will also be done within a few months. I did receive a new one in PR from Undone Beauty, and I also just purchased the Oma Beauty Say What foundation. That one has been on my wish list forever, and I just couldn't wait any longer, okay? There's only so long that you can leave something on your wish list that you know you're eventually gonna buy, and I was placing an Ulta order, and I was like, you know what? Just go ahead and buy it. Like, just go ahead and buy it. You know you want it. You're gonna buy it eventually, so you might as well buy it now. Add those Ulta points onto this order. So I'm excited. That one hasn't come yet, but I am going to go ahead and include it in these numbers because I know it'll be here within the next few days. So I'm so excited to try that foundation. So doing pretty well with foundations. I also have another category for shade adjusters, which are just mixers that I will mix with foundations that aren't quite the right shade. I have 2 of those. I've had the same 2 for the past 2 years, so nothing has changed there. All right, for concealer, I'm also a little bit over my goal. My goal for concealer was 5, and I am at 7 now. Again, I got 1 in PR from Undone. They sent me almost like a full face worth of products, so I have a few additions to my collection from that little PR package that I got. And I also purchased the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. No regrets at all. I love that concealer. It's like my new favorite. So I now have 7, which is definitely way more than I need. I'm currently working on panning the Too Faced Born This Way concealer, and the end is nowhere in sight for that one. Like, I'll just tell you right now, I have a feeling I'm going to be working on that one for the majority of the year, so I'm not sure how much this number will shrink this year. We'll see. Maybe I'll end up decluttering 1 or 2, but I don't know. I don't like decluttering just for the sake of bringing my inventory numbers down, but I could potentially let go of a few. We'll see. We'll see. So I do have a category for color correctors. I actually didn't have any at the start of this year, and I set a goal of 1. Okay, let me explain. I now have 1 color corrector. Now, I actually got this color corrector for Christmas, and I wasn't sure if I was going to keep it or not, so I left it unopened for a few months, and it's the Becca Under Eye Corrector. Now, whole backstory here, I had put that on my Christmas list that I gave to my parents like last fall-ish. At some point in between that time and Christmas, I decided to kind of pull back on supporting brands that are owned by Estee Lauder, which Becca is owned by Estee Lauder. And I completely forgot that I put it on my Christmas list, and then I did end up getting it for Christmas. So when I got it, I was like, ooh, I don't know if I'm going to keep this just because, you know, I have a channel and I've already said that I'm not going to support them anymore, blah, 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 blah. So I just kind of left it unopened for a while. And then Becca announced that they're going out of business. So I was like, you know what the heck? They're going out of business anyway. Like, what does it even matter? So I decided to keep it, and that way I could test it out and potentially like find a dupe because I know a lot of people love that product. So anyway, I decided to keep it, and I did open it for the first time in February. So that was when I said that I like added it to my collection. So I now have one color corrector. By the way, I don't really feel like that color corrector is a must-have for me. I don't feel like it does a whole lot. And I think I'm just ready to kind of give up on color correctors because I always have such high expectations and they never really do a whole lot for me. So anyway, that's the story on that. I'm sure half of you just didn't even care, but that's what happened with that. Next category is powder. Now this is a category that I really wanted to shrink this year. I started the year with 5 powders and I would really like to have no more than 3 powders in my collection because I don't really use powder as much as I used to. I mainly just use it for my under eyes and occasionally I'll put it on the rest of my face, but I actually prefer not even setting the rest of my face with powder most days. So there's no reason for me to have 5 powders at a time. That's like absurd to me. So I still have the same 5. I haven't bought any new ones, so congratulations to me. And I am panning the e.l.f. Prime and Stay powder right now, and I actually think that that one will probably be finished within the next few months. So I will at least be bringing my powder number down to 4, assuming I don't bring in any new ones. And then maybe I could even pan another one or make some good progress on another one. So that's where we are with that. It's probably going to take me a while to get that down to my goal of 3 if I do try to use them up rather than declutter, but powders don't really go bad, so, or at least not nearly as quickly as other types of products, so I'm not too worried about like needing to declutter them either. The last category I have is setting spray. My goal was to keep a collection of no more than 3 setting sprays, and I currently have 3, the same 3 that I started the year with. So I don't really feel tempted to buy new setting sprays that often. I have some that I really like, and I don't find myself like lusting after new setting sprays. My spreadsheet is all jumbled up and it's in a weird order. Let me just go ahead and cover eye primer so that I don't forget to cover it later on. But for eye primer, my goal is 2 and I have 3. I have 2 regular eye primers and 1 glitter primer, and the glitter primer serves a completely different purpose for me than a standard eye primer. So for me, it makes sense to have like 1 glitter primer and 1 regular primer. I don't need to have 2 regular primers. I have currently the Urban Decay Primer Potion and a really tiny mini of the ABH eye primer. I actually don't really like the ABH eye primer, so maybe that's one that I would declutter at some point. But I mean, it doesn't bother me that I have a little bit over my goal in this category. All right, so getting into cheek products, I actually want to start by introducing a new category because I didn't have this category at the start of the year, but I now have a new category for face palettes. I wasn't expecting to have any face palettes in my collection. I've even said in the past that it doesn't really make sense for me to purchase face palettes because I just prefer things in single form, especially as a project panner. It gets tricky when I've like used up 2 out of the 4 products in a face palette and then I'm left with like a big palette with only 2 things in it. It gets kind of tricky, but long story short, I ended up being gifted 2 face palettes, one I got in PR and one my friend sent to me, and I'm actually loving both. Like, neither of them are things that I would have bought for myself, but I'm actually really enjoying both of them. One of them is from Aether Beauty and one of them is from BH Cosmetics. And let me just tell you, the BH Cosmetics one has got me on a BH kick now because I loved it so much that I ended up buying an eyeshadow palette from them, and I am just now realizing that I've been sleeping on BH Cosmetics for the last several years. So long story short, I do now have 2 face palettes, and I went ahead and set a goal of 3. That's that. And I used to, back when I only had like 1 face palette in my collection, I would just count each of those products into like the blush, bronzer, highlight category. But now I've decided I think it just makes more sense to put them in their own category. Since I have more than 1 palette, I think it would get kind of confusing. All right, so now for the single bronzer category. I started the year with 2 and my goal was no more than 3 because honestly I'm really not that big of a bronzer person. A lot of days I skip bronzer altogether. I actually am more of a contour gal myself, but I now have 4, so that means I've added 2 new ones to my collection. One of them, my friend, the same friend that sent me the BH Cosmetics palette, she sent me a few little things. She sent me the Soul Body Bronzing Balm, and then I also received a stick bronzer from Undone Beauty. So those are where those came from. For contour, I only have 1 contour product. It is the cream contour from Oma Beauty, and I also used up a cream contour, which I'm very proud of. The categories that I've been dreading are highlight and blush. And again, this doesn't count the ones that are in face palettes. So my goal for highlighter this year is no more than 10. I started the year with 13, so I was hoping to shrink that a bit. And I still have 13, even though I actually did a blush and highlight declutter on my channel, which I can link if you missed it. But I decluttered 4 highlighters, which was great, great job. And then I brought 4 new ones in. So it balanced right back out to 13. Now, to be fair, the 4 that I added to my collection, all of them were received in PR. I haven't bought any new ones. Whether things are sent in PR or not, I still feel responsible for using those things up, or at least making sure they don't go to waste. I don't necessarily have control over what I receive in PR. So that being said, all 4 of the ones that I received in PR, I'm loving. So that's where we are on highlighters. Blush is not much better. Again, my goal this year was 10 blushes. I started the year with 11. I did declutter 3 of them in my blush and highlight declutter, and I used up a full blush, the Wet n Wild Rosé Champagne blush I finally finished. So I feel like I deserve a trophy for that accomplishment, but I have also brought in 5 new blushes since the start of the year, only one of which I actually bought with my own money. The other 4 were received in PR. The one that I bought is Milani Luminoso. It's another one that I've just been wanting to buy for the longest time, and once again, I was ordering some sunscreens from Ulta for my sunscreen video, and I just decided to pick it up because I really wanted it. So I don't really regret that purchase. I feel like I've just accepted that in certain areas of my makeup collection, I'm gonna have more products than I need. And for me, honestly, makeup is meant to be fun. I mean, why would it not be? So I don't see the point in stressing myself out over these arbitrary numbers. I don't feel overwhelmed by my blush and highlight collection. I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job using all of them and rotating through them. There aren't really any that are going unused. And when I open my drawer and I see one that I haven't used in a while, I use it. It's just one of those categories of makeup that I really enjoy. So I've just kind of accepted that I'm probably gonna have a slightly overflowing cheek product drawer, and that's okay. I've come to terms with it. So, by the way, I forgot to say, any kind of cheek duos, I do just count those as individual ones. So I have a couple of those e.l.f. bite-sized cheek duos, and I count the highlight in my highlighter category, the blush in my blush category. I'm not putting those in my face palette category, just since they're so small, they take up the same amount of space as one blush would take up. So, and same with the Oma contour and highlight stick. Next, I have brows, and my goal for this category is 2. So just really all I need is 1 brow pomade and 1 brow gel. I currently have 4, 1 brow pomade and 2 regular brow gels, and then 1 kind of dual-ended brow product from Undone Beauty. It's like a brow marker and brow gel in one. I'm not sure if that's going to stay in my collection because it's entirely the wrong shade for me. I'm going to see if I can make it work, but that one might get passed on to a friend because I don't know if it's going to work for me. So, and I'm also close to using up the e.l.f. brow gel. All right, for eyeliner, my goal is 8, just so that I can have a variety of different pencils and liquids, and I like to have a few different colors in my collection. I currently have 7, and I started the year with 6. So I actually used up 2 eyeliners this year, and I've added 3. 1 was PR and 2 were from CoverGirl, a black and a brown pencil liner. Currently under my goal number, and I'm happy with that. For mascara, my goal is 2, and I currently have exactly that, 2. In the past, my goal has been to just have 1 mascara open at a time and then maybe 1 on backup. So if the one I have open dries out, I have another one ready to go. I think I've decided to keep my goal number at 2, but I'm okay with having both of those open at the same time, just because I do have a channel and sometimes I want to test one out and review it. But also, if one of the mascaras that I have open I'm not totally in love with, currently I have the ABH Lash Brag mascara, and I really like what it does for my lashes, but it does smudge. So the other one that I have, which is the one from Undone Beauty, I can use that on my lower lash line to kind of help mitigate some of the smudging. So it does kind of help to have two of them that I can use for different purposes. So anyway, okay, so eyeshadow palettes. This is one that has changed a lot since the beginning of the year. Well, I should say the number of palettes that I have is exactly the same as it was at the beginning of the year, but my collection of palettes has completely changed. The reason why, I did do a palette declutter at the beginning of the year, I think it was in January. Yeah, it was in January. Got rid of, I think, 5 palettes. And then last month, my cat kind of forced me to do a little impromptu eyeshadow palette declutter because I've explained it a couple times already, but long story short, I left a basket of eyeshadows on my floor, and she has a habit of peeing in any kind of basket or box that is left out on the floor, any kind of bin or box, anything like that. I guess it reminds her of a litter box. And so anyway, she peed in a basket that contained several palettes, and I was able to salvage a couple of them that definitely didn't come in contact with any pee, but some of them I had to throw out, or I will recycle them through TerraCycle just to be safe. It's possible that I could have like disinfected them really well, but I didn't want to take any risks with things that are going on my face, and especially around my eyes. So anyway, that forced me to get rid of another 3 palettes. So I've decluttered 8 palettes total this year. Now, 2 of the palettes that I got rid of, I did replace: the Shared Planet Polar Bear palette and the e.l.f. Earth and Ocean palette. My friend was actually nice enough to send me her Earth and Ocean palette because she happened to be decluttering it at that time. And then I did purchase the Shared Planet Polar Bear palette because I just love that palette. I knew I was going to want to replace it. So basically the numbers balance out. I've decluttered 8, but I've also added 8 new ones to my collection so far this year. 2 of them were replacements for ones that I had to throw out. My goal this year was 20 palettes. I started the year with 18, and I currently have 18. Still got a little wiggle room, so. Next category is eyeshadow duos, trios, and quads. My goal was 5. I currently have 3. I started the year with 2, so I did add 1 new one to my collection, and it's the one from Aether. It's their Ametrine quad. So another category that has shifted around a bit is magnetic single eyeshadow. So again, I did have to throw out a few that were contaminated by Heidi, and then I did declutter 2 in my eyeshadow declutter video. So my goal, or my limit this year, was 25. I started the year with 20, and I'm now up to 22. So I decluttered a few, and I also added some new ones from Clarity Cosmetics. Then we have packaged single shadows. So this category has actually gotten a little bit smaller this year. My goal was 8. My goal was no more than 8, and I now am actually down to 4. So I started the year with 6. So I did declutter a couple. My friend Alex, the same one that sent me the Earth and Ocean palette, sent me a little like ColourPop Jelly Much shadow that she was decluttering, so that's the 1 new one that I have. And then liquid eyeshadows is another category that has shrunk a little bit. My goal was no more than 5. I started the year with 3, and I'm now down to 2, and that is because I decluttered my e.l.f. liquid glitter shadow earlier this year. Now, I do want to give myself a huge pat on the back when it comes to lipsticks, because lipstick was my weakness a couple years ago, and I do have a fairly large lipstick collection, at least compared to other categories in my collection. I have 22 lipsticks currently. I started the year with 21, so I've only added 1 new one to my collection, and it was just one that was sent in PR. And then my limit was 25, so I'm still under my limit. Honestly, I don't see myself buying that many new lipsticks this year. Maybe a couple here and there if any of them just like really speak to me, but I just haven't really been in the mood to try a bunch of new lipsticks. I still enjoy the lipsticks that I have. I wear them almost every day, but I think a lot of people have been in the same boat when it comes to lip products. Just with mask wearing and everything, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for me to buy a bunch of new lipsticks. I'm really just enjoying what I have, and I totally wear lipstick around the house, but I just don't really feel like I need to go out and buy a bunch of new ones. So I'm very proud of myself, because a couple years ago I was struggling. I think at one point I had more than 30 lipsticks, so I'm doing a good job. Now for lip gloss, I have gone a little bit over my goal. My goal was 8, and I'm up to 10. I started the year with 7. So I am working on panning one from Dose of Colors. It's going pretty well. I think it'll be finished at some point this year. And then I did add 3 new ones to my collection. 1 was purchased from Clarity, and the other 2 were received in PR. So it's more than I would like to have, but it's not like, it's not like I'm out of control, really. Last category is lip liner. I started the year with 4, and my goal was no more than 5, and I'm up to 5 now. I haven't used any up, but I did purchase a new one from the brand Mented. I was just wanting to try something from them because I'd heard a lot of really great things about them, and I ended up getting their lip liner in the shade Peach. I really like it, and I didn't really have any peach lip liners in my collection, so I felt like it has been a good addition to my collection and I'm really enjoying it. So that's where we are with that one. So I just made a little list of the categories that I'm either at my goal or under my goal, and a list of categories where I'm over my goal. I will say the list of categories where I'm doing well is much longer than my list of categories that I need to keep an eye on. So give myself that. But moving forward, the categories that I do need to kind of keep an eye on and try not to purchase or bring in anything new would be foundation, concealer, powder, bronzer, blush, and highlight, eye primer, brows, and lip gloss. And honestly, I don't really see myself buying anything in those categories. I don't really have anything else on my wish list in those areas that I can think of, or at least things that I'm like dying to buy. Yeah, and then all the other categories I'm doing well. So I would say it's not too bad. I like I said at the beginning, I was kind of dreading this update because I wasn't quite sure how I was doing. I knew there were some areas where I was a little bit over my goal, but there really are no areas where I'm just like completely out of control. I would say, like, as usual, cheek products are my biggest struggle area, but I'm not too worried about it. I feel like you know, I've got a lot of things kind of in my project pan right now that I think will be done at some point this year, so I'm happy with where I'm at. And it's interesting to see, like, as my channel grows, I am really fortunate to get some PR here and there, which I'm always appreciative of, and it's honestly really nice to have that as a way to kind of diversify my collections, and I'm able to try products that you guys are interested in that I probably wouldn't have bought myself, and I can tell you whether or not they're worth your money. So I'm kind of figuring out how to balance receiving PR and also keeping a semi-reasonable collection for myself. So anyway, that's why I do these inventory videos. They're really helpful for me to kind of keep track of everything, and you guys also seem to enjoy them. So if you are keeping a makeup inventory this year, I'd love to hear how you're doing with your goal numbers. Are you on track? How's it going for you? I'd love to know. So if you are new to my channel, I'd love to see you again soon. I do lots of videos about just kind of intentional makeup spending, so if you enjoy that kind of thing, I'd love to see you again soon, and hopefully I'll talk to you in my next video. Bye.